And yeah, it just means that, like, of all the things that were set up, and when they first showed Mrs. Flood, and she was like, never seen a TARDIS before, and everyone was like, oh, how's she breaking the fourth wall? She's looking directly at us, and who is she? What's going on? And I just thought about the Ruth Doctor in Whittaker's Era, where it was, well, how does she exist? What's going on? And every time with WandaVision and all these other shows, every time I've had to go, ooh, what's going on? The answer turns out to be, who knows? Even the show writers don't know what's going on. Like, the answers have never, ever made the complete lack of context worth it. Ever. It's like, sooner or later, it's like, okay, but what about that other? How did that work? And for emotional anchoring, for a cause and effect, you should not be sitting there going, who is this? What's going on? Why are we doing this? Where are we? When are we? What? Like, you should not be so lost that basic questions like, who even is this, is the mystery. Because you don't have anything to go on at that point. Anyway, so, so what I'm trying to say to start all this is, I missed it on the Saturday, got spoiled on the Sunday, watched it while in a rush because I had somewhere to go. And it was like, it was a whole hour long. So I was paying attention to it. But those last like 10 to 15 minutes, I was going, oh my God, it's still going. And yes, I was in a rush somewhere, but it did also feel like the moment where they're all in the TARDIS and like they're all having a chat, and before that they give Desiderium to Carla, it actually felt resolved. Like Omega was dead, Rani was dead. Well, they're defeated, and it all seemed wrapped up. And then Poppy's real, Poppy's not real, Poppy's real, Poppy's not the Doctor's daughter. Like, it was just so, after that, just back and forth circular plotting, that I started to go, okay, it's like it felt like it ended, and now it's still going. And then, like, I went, that's it, I don't have time. Like, I'm even just like for entertainment purposes, I was just like, I've lost interest. And then Gatwa regenerated. I was like, oh, he's dying? What? Oh, hang on. Like, I was literally trying to like get dressed in that. I was like, wait, that sounds important. Oh no. Like, this is the first time watching it, but like I was trying as hard as possible not to miss anything while getting ready for the thing I was trying to go to. And then Gatwa became Billy Piper, and I just went, oh, that was real. Like, I was rolling my eyes through the entire episode, and that was the worst taste to end on. Like, I was already going to be very mad at how they treated Belinda, how Gatwa's era just gave him no time. I mean, like, part of me feels like it's because he was busy, but then, like, they chose to hire him in the first place. So, based on what he was able to do, I understand why they wanted him. But given the amount of production issues it seems to have caused, and I'm sure there were others as well, just like, yeah, there's just too much. There's too much going on. There's too many plot threads that are mystery boxes. There's just too many contrived, like the Doctor has a daughter now. They're just throwing stuff at the wall for clickbait content, and I hate it. I hate this approach to storytelling. I'm already sick of the, Wolverine comes back, Spider-Man comes back, everything from the 2000s comes back. And, like, David Tennant was already like, okay, fine. Like, it wasn't ideal, but it did feel like the show was in a bad place, and that would help. And it seemed to help. But then Gatwa had this really rocky 2 seasons, which is, we've never had a run this short, because everyone else has had 3 years, and I'm a big fan of the, like, unwritten rule of 3 years, like, because that says no matter how unfortunate your situation is or how bad the writing is, like, you can't choose The actors can't choose the hand they're given, but at the very least, they get the same amount of time as everybody else. We at least get to see how they evolve over the 3 seasons. Maybe it, like Whittaker's era, maybe it stays bad, but even in flux, like even with the pandemic, I could still see how season 1 was very episodic, new monsters stuff. It wasn't working. So then season 2 is very the Master, another Doctor, and like yeah, it felt overcompensating in the opposite direction. But at least like you could see it Spyfall when that ramped up the entertainment value, and then Flux was like, let's try and tell a cohesive 6-episode story. Like everything's fallen down behind the scenes, but let's try and do something epic. And yeah, because of the pandemic and because Chibnall can't help but add every single character he can think of into an episode, like, there were ways to fix Flux that wasn't just, oh no, pandemic, what do we do? Because a lot of it was just where you cut stuff. Like, I've already listed in the 60th reviews how much stuff there was in Flux and Power of the Doctor. But, like, no matter how much of a mess it is, it still felt fair to be like, give Whittaker her shot. Give Whittaker 3 seasons. So the fact that Gat was out after 2 really upsets me. And not just because they're all owed 3 seasons. It's because there were 2 Dr. Light episodes in the first season. And a Dr. Light episode in the second season. So, like, he's only just got more episodes than Eccleston. And we know what happened with Eccleston behind the scenes. Like, when Eccleston wants RTD fired and RTD comes back and this is what happens with the show, it's not worth it. I'm really upset by this. Like, just not just this episode, but this era. Like, this really put a nail in it of just... So, Saturday, Sunday, I spent Monday going, time to do the video, and just mulling over it because I don't understand how they thought they were getting a spin-off out of this, let alone there is no way you write it like this when you want 3 seasons. You don't show all of the Doctor's faces every few episodes. Like it was in Rogue, it was in Story in the Engine, it was in the last episode twice. Like, you don't have so little of the actual Doctor. You don't have the Doctor torturing people. You don't have only 8 episodes. You don't write it all at once when you have no idea what's working and what's not working. When, again, at the very least, we could see Chibnall slowly improving. It was pretty bad all the way through. As in, like the characters never quite got their development. But, like, even Flux, it's like, okay, but we're seeing something between Doctor and Yaz. It's getting there. But, you know, sorry, you've got 3 seasons and it was too slow and too shallow to really catch up to the depth it needed to get good. Whereas here, like, we had some good stuff. Like, I really liked The Well and Lux, but it almost set me up for... Like, I watched the first season, went, I don't know about this. Nah, once you've done they were pointing at a sign and the sign wasn't there, I can't trust your cause and effect anymore. But then Belinda and Gatwa had a much better dynamic. Like, Belinda actually had some agency and her own clear, unique perspective. We had a clear direction that was very simple. And all of that got thrown out the window this episode. And I even went back to watch the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes of Robot Revolution. And the difference is night and day. Like, Mrs. Flood is breaking the fourth wall within the first 15 minutes. And Belinda is literally saying, she's talking to Al, and Al's being very creepy, and she doesn't like it, and she doesn't like being called Mrs. or Miss or whatever it was. And then at the end of the episode, he's literally like, we're destined to be together. We're destined, but the universe is pulling us together, and I've scanned your DNA. And she was literally like, don't do that without my permission. Don't scam me without my consent. where am I going? I wrote down notes. I just went off. Like, so Monday, I spent like mulling all this over of just why I was so disappointed and upset by not just this episode, but the notion that this is the end of Gatwa's run and all of the missed opportunities to come with that. Then today is Tuesday, but I swear I've spent several days being like, oh, let me write all my notes. Like, this is like I wrote down multiple, like two separate. I watched it twice, and I wrote down notes each time because as much as I wanted to just watch it and sit with the emotions, there aren't any. I didn't feel anything. I just watched nothing happen on screen for 45 minutes, and then just Whittaker comes back. Billy Piper comes back. The doctor is suddenly going to kill himself because Belinda needs a babe. Well, no, the doctor wants his child back. But it's not even his child now, so Belinda's just forced to have a child, which was Conrad's idea. Just, like, that was the very thing, like, again, night and day, that was the very thing Belinda dreaded most, was some guy telling her that she had to settle down, she had to be a missus, that some guy was going to pick her up and say, you're special, Belinda, you know, you should travel with me. Like, she literally says, you say that to all the girls, I'm not one of your adventures. And you hit the end of the thing and she's like, we have a child now. And, like, because Wish World is meant to be a creepy, like, mind-possessed, brainwashing place, when the doctor's like, oh my god, I forgot I'm the doctor, and Belinda's still like, no, this is my child. I have a child. I will protect my child. I have a child. Like, that's her character. It's like she's still possessed. And so you watch her literally fight the doctor on the slightest, like, you're not taking my free will away from me, to this, where the doctor is literally changing time to force her to have a child because he thought it was his child, but it's not. So he just gets to, like, she even says, you won't better, or one of them says, you won't better go traveling anymore. You'll have to take care of this child. And he was already like, oh, I should have seen my granddaughter. I can't believe I abandoned her for so long. The first doctor literally said he'd come back. We know Susan's available. And it just mashes up into this, nah, the doctor gets off scot-free. Belinda has all the responsibility. It's not the doctor's child. He gets to just go off traveling. Well, it's all wasted. And it's weird because the first time I was rolling my eyes at all the early stuff. But actually, when Whittaker showed up, I was actually like, oh, oh my god, she could, like, I was actually weirdly happy. And I hate that. Like, because I am always in two minds, right? I'm trying to watch it as a viewer, just taking in the emotions, and then watch it as a wannabe writer, as a reviewer, like, just because I want to learn from stuff, what works, what doesn't. And so there's something about the Whittaker thing especially, where the audience member in me went, oh, that's the thing I recognize. But I know intuitively, like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And even she's saying, I don't know how I'm here, I'm just damn, the script said so. So it's one of those things where on the first watch, I was rolling my eyes at most of the Rani's doing her plan. But then Omega shows up, bro, I'm Omega. And Rani's like, yes, you're Omega and you'll do what I say. Oh, okay, well, she's defeated. Oh no, how will we defeat Omega? Oh, okay. Like, it's all wasted. But I was rolling my eyes at what is now clearly the regular part of the episode. And all of the, I guess, nostalgia, key-jangling distraction, where that was 15 is suddenly dying, and Whittaker and Billy Piper are sandwiching it, were the parts where I was like, oh, hey, what? Like, yeah, I still went, so the week with Billy Piper was true, but it was still like that's interesting. But then on a second watch, all the episode was like, this does just feel like Empire of Death again. It's just noise. But, like, it's actually kind of harmless. It's just, like, I was rolling my eyes at it. It's not good, but it's not It's not like I'm sitting there going, no, that breaks. It wasn't like Timeless Child where I was like, no, no, no. You know, it's just like, okay, the Rani wants to bring back Omega, wants to bring back Gallifrey. They can't have, because the first time I watched it, I was like, what, they can't have children? That wasn't a thing. And the second time I was like, oh, okay, they do specify since the bomb went off. Even though, did we watch the same episode? The bomb didn't make them sterile. It didn't go out everywhere because I thought they like flew away from it or something. Like they got out of range of it. And even then, the Master and the Cybermen who apparently got hit by the bomb came back for Power of the Doctor anyway. So none of that happened. There was not a bomb that big. They didn't call it a genetic bomb. Like, that is a complete retcon. It's rubbish. But, like, at least I'm watching it going, yeah, but none of this matters anyway. Like, I was thinking if those last 15, 20 minutes weren't there, this would just be Empire of Death again, and I'd be like, just shrug it off. None of it matters. But it's when Whittaker's showing up that the first time I was like, oh my god, that's actually kind of exciting. And there were some really nice moments from that. Like, I noted down, like, that was nice. Because it, like, did the lines of, like, all these faces and we never change. Although, that did, this is the thing, in the second viewing, that did trigger in me remembering Capaldi being like, you know, it'll be expensive in oxygen, and him being anti-capitalist. And then I immediately pictured Whittaker saying, systems aren't the problem, it's you that's the problem. And then Gatwa torturing a genocide survivor because they didn't protest right. And so even that I went, well, you did change. You've kind of been out of character like the Sixth Doctor was. But I appreciate what that line is clearly meant to represent. Like, no matter what, they are the Doctor. And I think that's why I was excited, right? No matter how I feel about any Doctor's era, there is some level of nostalgia there where they show up and I go, yes, more time for everybody. Like, as much as I don't like the idea of bioregeneration, that everyone gets to come back all the time, and I don't want David Tennant to just come back for every anniversary, like, let's not overuse it. But, like, I do appreciate when, especially with Whittaker, where she didn't get just the idea of, oh my god, she's in someone else's script. Yay. Even though, unfortunately, it's this episode, and this era has not been... It's been better in some areas, so, like, there was hope. But it did mean that, like, it was nice to ignore the David Tennant of all of it, because the amount of times with, like, Sutek being on the TARDIS, but there's two TARDISes, or the Rani saying, well, I needed the Doctor because he doubts more than anyone else, and I just kept going, but there's another Doctor, though. Why? Like, I'm sorry, you've brought it up now. You've introduced Rose again. You've brought up the 14's out there. Where is he? What is he doing? And, like, I don't want David Tennant to overshadow Gatwa's run, but you kept him around, so he does. And then you kept bringing up situations like there are two Ranis. It's just a logical conclusion to say, well, then there'll be two Doctors. But it was nice to then just see 13 and 15 as if they're transitioning from one to the other. And the lines with how Gatwa says, I love you now. So, like, that at least feels like a morsel of character development. But David Tennant already said, I love her he said that about Donna in the 60th. So Gatwa didn't really grow. He just took what David Tennant did and kept doing it, and then took credit for the evolution of it. Like, and that's fine. I'm not, not whose idea it was or anything like that, but it's not really an evolution. It's just a slight tweak. But it was nice to have 15 say that to 13, and 13 go, oh, I've been really standoffish. Do I say things like that in the future? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, then I'll say that to Yaz. And he's like, you don't, but don't worry, it'll work out. Like, that is, like, now, like, in a weird way, when I rewatch Power of the Doctor, and Whittaker is saying to Yaz, you know how I feel, I can at least picture Gatwa saying that to her, and her having this hope of, I'm sorry, this is the best I've got for now, but don't worry, we'll get... But, like, there's this reassurance to it. That's nice. but the scene has no reason to be there, and it's just symptomatic and symbiotic of how this era works. Just magic baby, it's fantasy, 14 spilled the salt. We don't have to explain anything anymore. Let us do whatever we want to do. No, that's not how emotional anchoring works. Like, I read somewhere, and I love to be able to quote the source, but you can do anything in a story as long as you make the audience believe in it. But the problem is, if you don't even give any grounding or anchoring emotionally for how anything's happening or why it's happening, and you just go, oh, Mrs. Flood is the Rani now, but now there's two of them, but Mrs. Flood is still called Mrs. Flood, and she works for the Rani, and the Rani doesn't like being called mistress, probably because of the master, but Mrs. Flood calls her that, and then nothing happens of it, and oh, hey, Susan is coming to the doctor in his mind. Anyway, like, it's just, there's so little connectivity or natural, organic consequence to anything that 15 is suddenly like, I want my daughter back, shift into turbo, like, just, oh, there's a clip. So I realized I wrote a whole thing because I spent 2 days being like, I want to talk about this episode, but I feel like I'm just going to yell at it, and I don't want to just ramble at it. Like, I actually then watched all of the YouTubers that I usually follow first, because I could just feel that there was some core thing that I was fermenting, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. And I just kept being like, I'm gonna dance around it, and I'd love to be able to just go at the video with a clear direction and not just waffle for a bunch. But the second I turned the camera on, 3 days of thinking about it, because I've got a thesis to do that's due in several days, and I've not been able to focus on it because I've been focused on this. Like, my brain just won't let me stop processing the episode, because it's basically looking at it going, something is very wrong, and it is many things, but I need to be able to pin it down. I need to be able to target it to something, because there's a lot of problems here. But it's like I could feel it. I could feel this centerpiece that I couldn't quite grab onto. So I've just been watching other reviews in the meantime, like going, that's an issue. Yep, no, I thought of that, but like, yeah. And every time I went to film, I was just like, and so I actually finally hit a thing of just, it didn't develop its characters, and I wrote a whole thing down, and then I turned the camera on, and it all came flooding out, because I'm just fed up with this. Like, it is just a lot of stuff. And so I'll get to it. I'm sorry this is already 25 minutes of a video, but so let me get out my ramble thoughts, and then I'll get to this. So yeah, the Whittaker thing, as nice as it is indicative of how this whole era just has no reason or rhyme, and it's a mess. And actually, if you want to finish the video here, I'm gonna get into a deeper dive into it. But if you want to go too long, didn't read, that's fine with me. Like, effectively, the Rani represents everything that's wrong with this era. Like, she's supposed to be a scientist. This is supposed to be a sci-fi show. But they just went, nah, she has a magic baby, so whatever. And then she's trying to resurrect the glory days, but it's this skeleton grey blob CGI husk. Because all it knows how to do is go, blah, bigger is better. And it's not developing anything. And then there's no threats, because there's these big bombastic villains who then just get defeated by Deus Ex Machinas, because the Doctor has a magic door. Yeah, and there's two of them because by regeneration, and it's all nonsense. I honestly don't understand how they sit down and they go, I'm just going to have some lady appear on screen every episode, and at the end I'm going to discard that lady and then throw in a classic villain, and this is totally going to get renewed. Like, it's a failed venture. But I keep thinking, like, well, they're allowed to, they're allowed to take a risk, and it shouldn't be like, yeah, see, you failed, don't do this. But I'm honestly looking at what they actually did. It's not even, they're like, oh, the ratings weren't great, or, they were doing pretty well, but Disney just didn't see the benefit, or, like, it wasn't actually any behind-the-scenes things. Even though they were very clear, I can see straight through the seams of this episode. There were very clearly issues. But it's just that the ideas were bad. Like, it's like, oh no, but the Rani could have been good. The idea to do the things that people have been guessing for years, but then reveal the Rani last minute in one episode, just to reveal the foreshadowing of, like, it wasn't even like you revealed the Rani so that you could reveal Omega the next episode. No, they revealed the Rani kind of off screen, then they teased Omega, and then they defeated both within the same 5 to 10 minutes. So, like, it's the execution of this episode. But then, like, the idea to have Rogue in the last season, as if the Doctor was meant to go find him, like he says, find me. And then they just go, nah, that's not the focus of the season. No, the focus of the season is meant to be babies, because there's space babies, and Gatwa gets a baby, and Belinda gets a baby, and the Rani gives birth, and Conrad gets a magic baby, and Carla gets a baby, and everyone gets a baby. And it's like, that's not how themes work. You can't just repeat, like, same with Mrs. Flood and Susan Twist. You can't just repeat the thing, and same with Gatwa crying for... You can't just repeat the same thing over and over again and say, see, we developed it. That's not how anything works. Like, and people will go, yeah, but RTD1, it's A, this was meant to be different. This is meant to be better, an evolution. This is meant to be him having grown over 20 years. But secondly, like, Bad Wolf wasn't the character development. It was a background plotting thing. Like, Eccleston still had an arc. It wasn't just that, like, we didn't have Harold Saxon the Master show up every episode to go, hello, guess who I am? And you still had, like, Professor Yana set up midway through the episode. So, basically, I spent several days really trying to gather my thoughts. So, like, not that anyone cares. I'm new to this, and, like, it's not like a huge group of people following this, but, like, all the same, I still want to get something out within a good, reasonable time. But, like, I really sat there for 2 to 3 days, hearing everyone else's thoughts, going, yes, that. But I'm looking for the thing that makes it worth talking about. And eventually narrowed down to, oh no, it's I don't actually care to talk about this episode individually, because this episode individually is very clearly an empty, hollow nothing, followed by a bunch of rubbish. Like, that makes it sound the same, but I mean, like, a lot of the episode is just, oh no, the Rani, oh no, Omega, running around doing stuff. Pew, 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 pew. And then it's 20 minutes of, oh right, sorry, Galwas needs to regenerate now. Oh! I kicked the camera stand. I don't know where it was before. That's fine. So, yeah, I basically initially wrote down, still not prepared for regeneration, because I spent the entire episode, I watched it twice, and both times I went, oh yeah, this is meant to be Gatwa's last episode. How? Since when? And then wrote, yeah, rushed action, dragged out Poppy. So this was the hard thing. Like, overall, with this episode, that's why it's hard to talk about, because it's just like, well, it's a bunch of wasted payoffs, isn't it? Like, I can't really talk about it in isolation and be like, I don't know, it's just a bunch of noise. Without being like, yes, but, 2 episodes ago they teased Susan. 1 episode ago they teased Rogue. Like, it's all these, it's what it's not doing is the problem. So it's hard to judge it in the sense of like, oh, but, you can't, it's not this episode's fault that they included those things. It's, judge it on its own, self-contained. It's like, no, because it doesn't work as a self-contained thing, because its entire job is to pay off all that came before. And it still doesn't work as its own thing, because it's relying on who Whittaker is. And knowing who Whittaker is relies on you not treating this as season 1 and 2. So nothing about this works in isolation. Even Billie Piper coming back, like, even if you happen not to recognize her, at best you go, who's that? But odds are you do recognize her and then go, oh, okay, it's Rose. And then still go, why? Wait, or, oh, that's Whittaker. Why? Oh, the Doctor's regenerating now. Why? So that, but even just the pacing of it, it did feel like it was rushing through, like, yeah, everyone's defeated so quickly. And then you hit the Poppy stuff, and it's like, Poppy's my daughter, and everyone has this big conversation about, well, we're all your children, really. And, oh, that's really nice, and, well, we're sterile, and, like, every time it actually stopped to explain something, it really lingered on it, to the point of, I get it. And it's not even, like, I'm complaining because the episode was too fast. It was just rushing through the action. But the problem is, in both directions, it never stopped to develop its characters. So you get a bunch of pew, 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 pew. Oh, what's happening? I don't know. I can't follow it. It's just stuff's happening. It doesn't matter. Oh, the Doctor's flying on the thing. And then just every time it's like, oh, thank God it actually slowed down to really delve into something. All it does is explain it to you. So it's like, oh, okay, we're actually getting bioregeneration stuff. Oh, cool. We're going to explore and develop bioregeneration. No, we're just going to spell out the themes. Bioregeneration is a form of giving birth, and they can do that now that they got hit by the bomb, but it's meant to be a myth, and no one was meant to be able to do it. So, like, was the myth, oh, it's this thing was supposed to do if we're ever hit by a genetic bomb? What's the myth? Like, you can't just throw that out there and go, oh, toy maker magic. It's supposed to be impossible, but, gods, so now it's possible. But then the Rani's doing it. Well, she has a magic baby, so maybe they're gods. No, it's something the Time Lords have always been able to do. They've just never needed to do it. Because they could give birth, like, it's explaining the parts that don't really need explaining. Like, oh, it represents giving birth. Okay. Right, why? And let us explain. The Time Lords are barren, and Gallifrey was hit by a bomb. And did you watch the Whittaker? And no, okay, like I did. But this is the problem: is that people who did watch it are going, "That's not true. That's not what happened," and the people who didn't watch it go, "I don't care." So who's this for? And then, like, so they're explaining it, and you're going, "Okay, yeah, cool, I got it." But like, this is a bunch of exposition. Can we get moving? And then it's like, sure, pew, 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 pew. And you're just like, no, what I meant was like, whether we're going fast or slow, can we actually have something meaningful happen? Please? So it's like too fast and too slow. But I really started feeling it in the last 20 minutes. So the first time, even when I watched it, there was something about the way Poppy was alive, then not alive, then alive, then not alive. Well, sorry, alive, then not alive, but then alive, but then not the Doctor's daughter. So, like, I could feel something off there just watching it on pacing. Just like, okay, well, is she around or not? Because it's not necessarily bad to be like, they try to do a thing, but it fails, so then they have to do something else. So, like, a back and forth of it doesn't just happen immediately. But when they have this big, long celebration where everyone's like, oh my God, the Doctor and Belinda had a child. And again, Belinda has nothing to say about it. But, like, the Doctor... Sorry, I charge my phone all day and it's going flat. I'm so fed up with technology. Where was I? yeah, the doctor has a child and they're all celebrating it and they're all like, that's great, doctor. And then it's only when it feels like it's resolving and they're in the TARDIS and then the baby disappears and I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, well, that's tragic. Wow. And like, I actually felt for Ruby's point of view during that. Like, it actually made me think Ruby has had more development here because she had the middle of 73 yards to herself, where it established her isolation, and then the ending where she's looking for a mum and she doesn't know the identity of her mum, and then this one where she got Lucky Day all to herself and it sets up Conrad, and then in the finale she gets to confront him. So technically, like when you look at the old seasons where like the Dalek shows up in the middle and then there's a Dalek at the end, like of Eccleston's run, and that makes it feel like there's a setup for the payoff and not like there's other little setups along the way. But that midpoint does make it feel like the Professor Yana thing. Like it makes it more than just classic villain showed up at the end. Like, oh, we saw a Dalek earlier. So technically, Ruby got those moments. Ruby's the only plot relevant thing here. Ruby's the only character who actually got proper like development and setup and payoff. And she still has the whole mystery box with who's my mum, why is music inside her, and like all of that was still hand waved by a stupid It's Just Magic. But yeah, I mean, I'm actually getting through my notes as I'm just remembering stuff. But yeah, so all this planning to just be like, no, this episode was chaotic, so I'm gonna be chaotic. Screw it, who cares? Like, it's just a mess. So yeah, it's just like, so then when Poppy then comes back again, I was like, okay, right, like, you know, it's fine to have a twist and be like, oh, Poppy survived the box thing, yay, and then be like, no, sorry, yeah, no, reality still has to reset itself and they're not going to remember, and like it did, and honestly, people have pointed this out, but I honestly did think Gatwa was looking at Ruby like, Ruby, shut up. I know, it's depressing, shut up. But then it dragged out, but she's like, no, there was a person called Poppy. And the doctor's like, Ruby, what are you talking about? It's not like time travel exists. It's not like things can just change, even though we just changed reality a minute ago. Like, even the doctor knows they just defeated Conrad's world. Like, he doesn't even hear her out. He just dismisses her multiple times. So, yeah, like I could already feel it. Like it's going back and forth on this, and it can't commit to whether Poppy is going to stay the doctor's daughter or not. And then when she came back, I was like, okay, so the doctor's going to sacrifice himself to bring back his daughter, and that explains Susan, and yeah, maybe he'll see Susan as he's dying, okay, because I was spending the entire episode going, when Susan show up? Like, not even that she has to, but she does have to. Like it wasn't like I was watching this episode, like this episode was setting that up. It's just that after she showed up, I was like, we know she's available, and we know, like, Gatwa spent, he mentioned Susan like 2 episodes into the first season, and then at the end they mentioned Susan again, then they showed her in this. It's just like, again, the organic, natural conclusion is that she actually comes back and the doctor does what he said he'd do and comes back and they actually have a moment together. And like, it sounds like there was meant to be an alternate cut, but even then she was giving me in the background tease for season 3. And it's like, sorry, no, you had 2 seasons to do this. You should have done it last season. You knew you weren't guaranteed for a 3rd season. Like, yeah, just... I did actually write down, there's a big section of like the big mistakes of this era. And one of them was just like, they wrote 2 seasons at once, knowing that there was no guarantee for a 3rd, and just went, nah, we'll leave that for later. We're going to mention the boss at the start of the 60th, do nothing with it for 2 seasons, and then mention it again at the end. Like, do something with it, or stop baiting us with cheap, empty nothing. Like, stop it. Just stop with the, ooh, who's this person? Who's that person? Because there's nothing to go on. There's no point anticipating it. You're just gonna cheat. And even Al, it was like the amount of flashbacks of just, oh, you remember this thing that happened earlier that set this up? No, we didn't show it. Pfft. Like literally to the point where Belinda now has a child because they magically retcon things. Baby God Magic retconned the entire season so that a thing that was never set up happens, so that you can pay off a thing that was never set up. So when you say, "Oh, who's the boss?" It's like, I don't know, Davros. I don't know. I don't know. Who cares? Like, it really is. Like, really, you're really gonna, after all of this, after Susan Twist is just Sutek, and after Mrs. Flood is the Rani, you're gonna be like, who's the boss? And we're meant to go, oh, is it this other character who's gonna turn into a big blob monster? Like, it doesn't matter. You've now proven that payoffs won't happen. That we're not waiting 3 seasons for Susan. Do it. You didn't do it. Gat was gone. Rogue can't come back. It's too late. Like, that's it. It's final. It's just like you put that flag in and gone, all that stuff you seem to set up cannot happen now. It can happen in the next Doctor, but it won't mean anything. So yeah, and then by the time Poppy comes back, it's not his daughter. I'm like, you almost had an arc here where the Doctor is the timeless child. He wants his own family. Unit is his children to some extent. Like, found family, yada yada. But then he wants to bring his child back and just finds that, like, the gods play tricks, so it doesn't happen the way he wants it, and, you know, that's sad. But he died for it. He died never meeting Susan again, never meeting Rogue again, for a fictitious child that he only had because a conservative forced him to. No. I fundamentally hate this. And I said with season 1 that I was like, right, if I know you're just going to invent a signpost after the fact, then there's no point investing. And I still went, well, out of curiosity, I'll have a look at season 2. And on pure dynamic, Belinda saying no to the Doctor just had me going, ooh, a better relationship. Hope they develop it. No, and they literally ripped out her soul and shoved in an agreeable conservative mother. And that is the 100% opposite of the Belinda you set up at the start. That Belinda wanted her agency more than anything else. And this Belinda was stripped of her agency. And it was a tragedy for her, and it's instead framed as a tragedy for the Doctor because he didn't get what he wanted. And he died so that Belinda could be forced to have a baby. And he died never reuniting with his granddaughter, even though his whole thing was about, like, well, you're already bringing back Sutek and Omega, but you're not going to, like, reunion with the person we know is available and was right there, who you then showed and set up. Yeah. I may leave it at this and just, like, this is my angry, chaotic rant about it. Because after all my planning, didn't need it. If the episode can jump around, so can I. This was upsetting. Like, I actually think Billie Piper would make a good Doctor. But it's too soon after Tennant. You just can't. You just can't give Gatwin less episodes than everyone else, except the one guy who is now calling for the people running it to be fired. Like, that just makes me think that the same thing happened again. That RTD for all the quality of the storytelling the first time round, like the actual build-ups to the finales, is still a mess. And even with like Chibnall's era, season 11 had a finale that was a first draft. The pandemic couldn't have been helped, but he still shoved in like 20 characters at once. And this feels like it's doing that. Like, let's just shove in all of UNIT because we want to spin off. And we want to spin off even though we should have spent our time developing this. Like, it actually feels arrogant to like, the show never seems to have good behind-the-scenes stories. It's always like, oh, you know, Moffat didn't have anyone booked in for the 50th. He was burnt out. They couldn't find anyone to replace Moffat, so Chibnall came in, and then Chibnall had the first drafts because the writers needed fixing, and RTD wanted to write it all himself, and RTD had to step in because Chibnall didn't want to do it anymore, and the show was going to get cancelled, and like, it does always seem like they're just keeping it afloat. But that doesn't make it better. Like, now we're seeing it in the show quality itself. Like, if you have a bad time behind the scenes, that's your responsibility. You deal with that. You know, just don't let it crack onto the screen. But yeah, when Gatler gets 2 Dr. Light episodes because he's busy, and we had to have Tennant be in the 60th, because I assume no one wanted to come back because RTD's like, oh, you know, there's no point doing multi-doctors anyway. But then you bring Whittaker back. So it's not multi-doctors you're against. No one wanted to return. Like, Capaldi said no. Eccleston would have said no. Tennant came back for the 60th, and Matt Smith is probably busy. Or Matt Smith didn't just want to be the only one. He didn't want to be Matt Smith and David Tennant again. So, no. Yeah, it's just... I felt like David Tennant was already a placeholder because Gatler was too busy, and they just refused to go with someone else. Then he was still busy during season 1. Then season 2, we actually had an opportunity to properly showcase him, and there was still a Dr. Light episode where Ruby took over, and then Ruby takes over for Belinda in the finale. So just what was the point? It's all wasted. And so, yeah, it feels like all those behind-the-scenes problems have always been there to an extent, but now it's like, this broke. This show collapsed. And yet, like, we know they wrote it beforehand, so... I mean, the lady who plays Mrs. Flood said something about, like, oh, he's brilliant, you know, he has everything planned out. And if something's not working, he'll just change it. It's like, there's your problem right there, right? It didn't feel planned out. Because what was the plan? There was... If this was the plan, that's a terrible plan. Like, it's so shallow, the whole thing. There's no way you plan for Gatler to be busy, so you change stuff. And you changed it in ways that didn't make sense. Yeah. So here we just get to the end of it, and I'm just reeling back to, like, the inclusion of Joe Martin in the story in the engine. Oh, my story should be finished someday. Well, you could have had a female doctor right there. You just put her in the... No, we're going to bring Billie Piper back because David Tennant wasn't enough. Like, are we just going to do... like, oh, someone from Day of the Doctor, and then someone new, and then someone from Day of the Doctor, and then someone new. Like, it wasn't enough bringing RTD back, and David Tennant, and Donna, and now Billie Piper, and Sutek, and Susan, and Omega, and... It's not even a bad thing to bring stuff back. It's just like you brought back 2 classic villains at the exact same time, wasted them both, teased something the whole show has been asking for ages, then didn't do it. Introduce something new that the Doctor could have chased, didn't even try. And that means the Rogue's still in that dimension, and nothing. And it's not going to mean the same thing if Billie Piper goes and looks for him. If I try to rewatch this at all, I'm going to think about this finale and go, well, nothing happens there, and oh yeah, we're going to meet Ruby's dad and he'll explain some things. Nah. Oh, Belinda really needs to see her mum and dad again. We didn't see the dad either, so yeah. You can only say so many times, oh, well, I'm sure in the next season they'll explain that. You can't. You don't know what's going to happen. Oh, no, the BBC will still continue it. Yeah, but, why did you write this where season 3 was necessary for season 1 and 2 to make sense? There needed to be a cohesion here where we could hit this finale, hit this ending, and feel something positively final. Because it all feels final, but it feels like the final nail in the coffin of this not working. I already complained about the giggle just being a bunch of noise, and then Empire of Death being a bunch of noise, and the common factor is that Unit is there, all 3 of them, so there's always 15 characters. I don't know what happened to Morris, but Mel and Rose and Shirley and Kate are always just there in the background, doing whatever the script tells them to. And I'm supposed to be like, this was so good, I can't wait for the Unit spin-off. No, I'm like, why did you spend any time developing something that was going to build off of this when you didn't build this? That's like buying a piece of land and then being like, I'm going to build a whole skyscraper. And you go, what, here? And you're like, no, of course here. No, I'm going to build a skyscraper once I buy the rest of the town. What are you talking about? You could hardly afford this piece of land. And you're like, no, well, once I build a house on this, I'm going to build a skyscraper on top of it. You haven't built the house yet. That's how it feels. There's this, you didn't even build the foundations, and you had 2 seasons to do. I know you had less episodes. Everyone's going to say that you needed more episodes, they needed more time. But they had it. You had slightly more time than Eccleston, and Eccleston still managed to have a cohesive thing. It should not have been 8 episodes of 2 seasons with different companions. It should just be 16 episodes of one long run. It didn't need to be David Tennant for 3 episodes before it, and it didn't need to be bi-regenerating where David Tennant sticks around. And it didn't need to be big, raw, classic monster mystery box. You could have just said that the Doctor is looking for his granddaughter. And then in 8 episodes, have him find her. You didn't need 2 seasons for that. You didn't need to tease it for a 3rd. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous they just thought it would be renewed and they'd have more time. Or they didn't use their time wisely that they had. This doesn't need more episodes, it needs less Doctor Light episodes. It needs a Doctor who is actually available. I really enjoyed Gatwa in this, and I'm as mad as I am because I wanted him to have more time. I wanted to see him developed. I was enjoying what they did do with him, except for when he tortured someone, but that felt off model anyway. I don't blame the Doctor or Gatwa for that, I blame the writing. And even the writer there said they didn't know what Belinda's character was. It wasn't the time that they had or required. There was no plan. This, it's just a mashup of a roulette wheel of whatever they wanted to throw at the screen. And then split it into 2 sets of 8 episodes. Created several Doctor Light episodes within those. Chucked in Unit at the end, where Unit hadn't been... I guess Unit was set up in both... Now I think about it, the Unit was set up in both Ruby episodes. So they do make sense coming back at the end. But it's still, cluttered and overcrowded and... again, I come back to just develop your characters. Develop Belinda as someone who wants to get home Don't make her a mystery box where we don't even understand she's a mystery box. But then you retcon it and be like, Doctor, it was always like this. Didn't you see? The flashbacks we didn't include? Or, who's my mum? Sutek needs to know. It was some lady. The magic inside her was just because we believed. Like, don't do any of that stuff. It's all rubbish. Just have 15 and Ruby are orphans who bond, and then either 15 and Belinda just want to get home, they want to get back to Earth, and that's it. Just have them, have them go from thing to thing where they're learning about what happened to Earth while stuff happens. But, develop the character beyond Belinda going, take me home, take me home, take me home. You're wonderful, I have a baby. That's not a character. And again, Ruby actually got character development by being kinder to Conrad than the Doctor was all season. I didn't necessarily mean or think that Conrad was redeemable. I thought he was too stereotypically evil to be redeemed. But I saw that then as Ruby actually being that kind, that she was like, I just wish you were better. She said going in, can I punch him? And then got there and was like, you're not worth it, man. Just please improve. I just wish you'd never ended up this way. So, I get what they were going for there. Whereas, everything else just... They were so busy with the Hooniverse and the spin-offs and that this is going to be like the MCU that, unfortunately, they succeeded. This is like the MCU. It lived too long, it went way past its due date, and now it's just chucking things at the wall with multiple characters, trying desperately to have all these Disney Plus shows, and just forgot that it was about the Avengers and the tentpole character development between Cap and Tony, and then they just forgot to develop anything past that point. Past David Tennant, past the 60th, they were so busy with expanding the IP that they forgot to develop the damn characters.